Good evening, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, 87GYM. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that push the airwaves with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain, transmit on 70 centimeters, cross band repeater, sits out images at 1.2. Find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. Google WW7ATS. Google WW7ATS. That will take you to our homepage on the internet. There you'll find out a little bit about our group. There's a link there showing how to stream our nets that are held on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock on YouTube. So with that, I'll take a break in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make contact before the event is fully underway. On the 08 machine, WW7ATS, hosted by our Recruiter Association. Again, this is Dave, 87GYM. Doing none at this point. Let's go with the net. So far we have checked in by a video link. Ron, 87QKU. Jessica, KF7UHK. Richard, K7ITX. Jim, N7QO. And myself, Dave, 87ZYM. Is there anybody else that would like to step into the net this evening? Well, on a rainy evening here in Seattle, let's get our net underway and start with Ron, 87QKU.
Okay, this is KD72KU. Well, the Zoom connection keeps acting funny. It disconnects and then now it's reconnecting. Is anyone else experiencing that problem?
I'm noticing you freeze up every once in a while, but it's sort of a blank screen right now, Ron.
Did you say you do have a blank screen right now?
In front of you is a picture of a desk where you're not there.
I have, it says connecting and the little, there it goes, it's coming back in again. Now I see myself. Well, I don't know what's going on. I've had trouble with it the last couple of times, so I don't know if it's me or if it's Zoom or if it's, whatever, but anyway. So I see myself on streaming. So let's see, just had a little rain shower go through here a minute ago. It was kind of a nice afternoon. This morning, well, you know, a month or so ago, now it went off again, and it says launch meeting. Weird. So anyway, a month or so ago, I had a leak between the meter and the water main, so they had to come out and dig up the street and put in a new pipe. And today they came and patched it. So they got it all patched with a really nice big patch. And then right after lunch we taken the car over. We have a Jeep Cherokee and we've taken over to the Jeep dealer here for the first time and had the oil changed. They had a problem. They had a power outage, so they were running an hour behind. So we had to wait an extra hour, I think, to get the oil changed. So anyway, it's kind of been one of those days. And then I don't think my hearing aids are working very good today. I don't seem to be hearing very good tonight. And then now, TV is stiff, but yeah, the computer's stiff. All right, back to that 87QKU.
87QKU, Ron, thanks for that. I had apology. James, rather, WU7N has checked into the net this evening. So let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK.
Well, Ron, my recommendation is to boot the computer completely. If it keeps on doing this, just make sure it has a good connection before you make other connections like to Zoom. So if it keeps on doing that, you might just just boot to a computer. And I hate doing that because some of my computers take a long time to boot. When it rains, it pours. I think I've said that before, and it's still pouring, which is so folks called me back and said, "Are you sure you want to give up that driving job?" So Saturday they put me to work and moving some people up to Burlington to a train on the side. And then Sunday I got a call at 5 in the morning saying they needed to go to Wenatchee, pick up a couple 4 folks and bring it back to Everett. But while I was in Wenatchee, I also moved some folks to Leavenworth, and then from Leavenworth back to Wenatchee, and then by the end of the day I brought 2 folks back to Everett. So it was a 9.5, almost 10-hour day driving. But it was kind of pretty. I was going over the mountains. It was snow on the way over, and coming back it was clear and really nice. And watching it had that warm feel to it. But I have more to the story because like I say, when it rains, it pours. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to K7UHK.
K7UHK, thanks for that. Which was with us, K7ITS.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just having technical difficulties with Grandstream tonight. I'm not sure exactly what I did or didn't do, but like Jessica said, really the only way to fix these things is to reboot your computer. And I could do that, but then I gotta wait 5 or 10 minutes for it to, come back to a normal life. And I don't know. Ron's looking pretty good tonight on the not the Zoom, but the YouTube video, and out on the internet. So Ron, if you don't mind, you're the only one that we have to watch, actually, for the time being, at least on the internet. But I can see you're just fine on Zoom, and heck, I might as well, since the world can't see me, I might as well see if I can figure out how to turn my screen on, at least. There we go. Hi, everybody. So, anyway, I'll keep monkeying around, but I don't know if I'll get it figured out. I'll just like to enjoy the stories. Ron's got off to a good start, and I got a couple. So, K7ZYM, K7ITX, back to Mac Control.
K7ITX, thanks for that. It's really Kevin Pendleton, 7720.
Kilo, thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Ron, I'm having some problems too. I don't know, internet has been sort of touch and go a little bit today. We received a message that cell phone service has been a problem for many people nowadays. Don't know what happened apparently earlier today. So that may be, if you've got a cell phone connection or using a hotspot or something, maybe a point of issue as well. All kinds of crazy things going on around here. There's, according to the next door neighbor info, there's been a big traffic accident pretty close to home here, so that may be messing up things as well. But so far I see everyone just fine. Looks good. Let's see. Jessica, driving? Well, I don't know. They talked you into it, huh? Yeah, it's one thing when it's a pretty day out there and nice, but I don't know. It still sounds too much like work to me. Well, hang in there. And let's see. Someone was talking about the weather. Yeah, it's not raining at my place, or at least it wasn't when I came here a little bit ago. But it would not surprise me if it's raining before the net is over here. And I'm showing, wow, it says it's 50 degrees out there. All day long it was maybe in the mid-40s. But anyway, we'll take warmth when we can get it. Back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
7QO, and it's ID time. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. As I said again, this is Dave 87CYM. So let's go to James, WW7N in Bellevue.
And thank you very much for doing the switching. I guess Richard is doing that. I had a really poor signal coming through on 1.2 gigahertz. I made multiple attempts to get the thing turned on today, so I don't know if anyone else was working on that or not. Maybe we were arguing with each other. I'm not having currently any problems with Zoom, and I'm coming to 1.2 gig just fine. About 50 watts is what I'm putting out onto the FM. Is the audio coming through? Okay, glad to do that. Well, Jessica, interesting. Your driving job, they went back to you to beg you to drive people around, and my goodness, it sounds like you're covering some territory there. That is a lot of driving. I'm aware that Rent and Fish and Game in the Northeast Rhine Highlands is looking for someone. I just got an email today saying somebody had left, so there certainly is a lot of turmoil in the labor market right now. You talk about boot time on computers. You know, I have a computer, I don't know, it's just like an old set of shoes. I just can't stop using it. Windows 7, and the boot time, including the virtual private network, is about 25 minutes. Because it takes quite a while for the virtual private network to negotiate with that older processor. I did get a text from Lee. He said he just come back from a trip from Fort Townsend. I don't think it was really dry. He said he was exhausted. So, wishing him all the best if he's listening. Just means you can use the repeater up there in Clapham County. It doesn't have echo link, and as soon as they can get someone up there this weekend. So I don't know if anyone's listening. That's a K7FEL or something up there in the Clapham County area. It doesn't have echo link. And yes, network problems. The ones that I knew of tonight, Costco was having a problem midday. Their whole system was down corporate-wide, but then was back up again later in the afternoon. I got a text message from the county saying 911 for Verizon was non-functional today. So I'm not sure what was going on with networks and computers, but it was a hard day. Maybe it was just the rain and the wind out there. So that's, next time around, I'll tell you news you can use about chocolate soup and James, WW7N. Turning back to our net control, Dave, anyway.
WW7N, James, thanks for that. And this is Dave 87CYM at Lake City. I've got 50 degrees out there. It's raining. All afternoon it's raining. And it rains some more. And it's raining. But I guess this is Seattle, and we're known for a little bit of rain. So let's see. I have good news. My furnace got inspected and passed. So I got that out of the way. It was kind of interesting on the permit. They said I had to have an electrical inspection and then do a turbulence inspection for the plumbing that went through the ducts. But when the inspector came out, he said, no, you got a replacement furnace. All you need to do is have me sign it off, and I've done that. And his major work was walking from his car into the garage through the basement to where the furnace was, touched his fingers on the furnace and said, yep, it looks good. And then he turned around, headed back to his car and said, all in place, the computer system has passed the capacity. It is signed off. And that's what I had. He said, no, it'll all be done on the computer, and then it's labor. And then the other bad news was talking about computers. My hard drive gave out on my desktop, and I went to the Geek Squad, and they said my 2 terabyte hard drive had bit the dust. And so for an nominal fee, outside of the national debt, they will transfer the information that is left on my hard drive over to a new hard drive, and sometime in the next days I should get that back. Who knows how it will work when it comes back. There'll have to be a lot of adjustment on my side once it gets here. So that's my tail is for the day, 7GYM. So this is Ron, 7GKU.
Okay, I think Dave turned it over to me. This is KD7QKU. So everybody's froze on my screen, and my screen blacked out again and then came back on. I see him on streaming. So let's see. Yeah, no, I was going to say the same thing, Jessica. They sent you all over the state, it sounds like. I thought you were just going to go up and down kind of the I-5 corridor, but I guess it was kind of fun to do it. See the rest of the state and think it's fun to drive. So then Jim, M7Q, just came back on. I don't see James and I don't see Wade. So let's see. Joanne had a friend that she worked with, and a lady a little bit younger than us. Her name was Betty Robertson. Well, she passed away. And it was kind of a sad story, but I won't bore you with all the details unless you want to hear. But her next of kin, her half-brother lives in Australia, her cousin lives in Australia, and she was from Australia. And so she's here on a green card. So anyway, the police and the coroner and everybody called us. They had our phone number apparently, and they wanted to know how to get a hold of them, and they wanted us to get a hold of them. That was Easter afternoon. Everyone had just arrived for dinner. So I came in and turned on Skype. Let me drop it. Once upon a time, I had talked to her brother on Skype. Well, actually, Betty was here and wanted to use Skype to talk to her brother. She talked to her cousin almost every day on Skype. So I forgot how to use Skype. I hadn't used it for years, so we spent the afternoon, late evening, trying to get a hold of them on cell phones and emails and everything. And finally, we did make connection with them on Skype and gave them all the information so they could call the coroner. The coroner, they didn't want to move the body until they got permission from the next of kin. And we couldn't give them that permission because we're not related. So it was kind of a mixed up Easter evening dinner. Thank goodness my sister-in-law was there and Joanne's niece, and they went ahead and put dinner together. So it was quite a day. Back to that, KD7QKU.
KD7QKU, that's well, let's go to Jessica, KM7HK. The wheels of the train go round and round. Well, rubber tires anyway on the highway.
I'll tell you, that's for sure. Yeah, and the story gets even thicker because, I was trying to get that job being a bus cleaner for $2 more an hour. Or extra $19 an hour instead of $15.50. And I didn't pass that interview. They only needed one, I think, for a job of only a crew of 6. So I didn't get that. But today I got a phone call from Skagit Valley Transit and said, we think we have a job that I think would be more your style, and would you like to drive for us? It's like, hot dang, that's $7 more than I'm making right now. So, yeah. So, and that's just the start. That's just for the probationary period. They'll help me get a CDL license and all the documentation to do that, and they'll train me to. And I think it's like a substitute bus driver. So I'll get a minimum of 32 hours a week, which is perfect. But they said you'll probably get a lot more than that. So that's fine with me. And it might be rotating schedules, but at least they won't be calling me at 2 o'clock in the morning saying you have 2 people to pick up and drop somewhere like in Auburn. So it won't be the on-call thing. It will actually have some kind of schedule to it. And so I went up today and interviewed, and I took a little test with a man who to see if I could open doors on the buses and if I could sit in the seat. hit the pedals with my legs and stuff like that. And I'm a tall person, so it worked out just fine. So yeah, no, they called me up later and said, well, they liked you a lot. You got the job, and so I'll be starting in a couple weeks. I'm not sure exactly when, but that's going to come really fast. So I'm really excited. So there's more of it. When it rains, it pours. They needed 17 people to complete their crew of people. They only have 7 right now because people have been retiring, medical retiring, and just getting out of the business. And they've had a hard time getting people. With that, I'm probably running out of time. KF7 UHK.
KF7 UHK, thanks for that information and congratulations on landing a new job. And this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society head on the 08 machine. I'm Dave 87 YM. So let's go to Richard, K7ITX in Kent.
All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Wade. He's the guy. He's the man behind the curtain tonight. So kind of nice little vacation. So thanks for that, Wade. Yeah, I think this never-ending putting my computer to sleep to avoid having to reboot it, that can catch up to you at some point. And I think maybe it did tonight. But the Zoom didn't. So Ron, I don't know. I think it's your internet connection situation that's giving you problems with Zoom, because I don't think any of us are having the same type of issues you are. But I did hear about the Verizon outage. In fact, WW7ATS tried to call me, and it just would drop the call. I mean, it just wouldn't even go through. But yet I could call her. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I don't know if it's still going on or not. If people have been trying to call me and can't. It's not that I get a bundle of calls anyway. Oh, and I'm monitoring the Mariners tonight. It's the bottom of the 5th, so they're up to bat at 2 outs. It's 4-0. And they've got 8 hits, so there's been some action. So that means, I have 5 Mariners on my fantasy baseball team. And so normally I wouldn't, but like last year I avoided the Mariners. They were just, they got close to the playoffs, that sort of thing, but fantasy baseball is real fickle. You can do real good with players on a losing team. It's just a matter of their production. It's the fact that they're hitting the ball and stealing bases and scoring runs, or the pitcher is going in deep into the game, several innings, just oddball things like that. But it just so happened a lot of the players I had on my baseball team, fantasy team last year, were Jesse Winker and Suarez. I can't think of his first name. Suarez and a couple others that I had on my fantasy baseball team became Mariners all of a sudden. I thought, wow, this will be fun. And it has been. Mariners are doing really good right now, and I'm in the hunt with out of 10 teams on our fantasy baseball team are doing pretty good. So that's the good news. I'll give you the bad news next round. K7ITX back to night control.
K7ITX, thanks for that. Well, let's do claims for those. W7ITL.
Hey guys, I'm just gonna listen tonight, but just make a comment about the Verizon thing. Yeah, that was pretty widespread. I had some friends that I work with that are working out of Phoenix, and their phones weren't working. So yeah, whatever happened with Verizon, it was big. All right, that's W7ITX report for tonight, and I'll switch back to you, Dave.
W7ITL, let's do the Shannon Covington, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, thanks for that, Wade. I'm sure there's some rational explanation for all of this.
Wonder if we'll find out what really happened. Let's see. Well, Jessica, sounds like the new gig is pretty good. I hope you were planning to work that much, but at least it'll be day shift. So that's a plus too. Maybe so, Jim. Let's see here. And Jim, you were talking about the 1.2. When you mentioned that, I was looking and it looked okay to me. Maybe a little bit weaker than usual, but since then, the last 5 minutes or so, this thing's been going on and off a little bit. It's like I'm not receiving a signal as strong as I normally do. I normally do not receive a strong signal, but it seems to be a little worse than usual. Maybe an area of precipitation between here and the repeater for me, or something else going on. I don't know, but I'm experiencing a less than optimum performance as well. So it's nothing at your end. Let's see, Ron, Skype. Yeah. I don't see Ron. He's been having problems with the internet. Well, I was going to mention to him about Skype, but since he's not here, I guess I'll wait till he shows up again. Back to you, Dave, on 7QO.
I can see you on streaming, Jim.
And this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society's map. Is anybody else wishing to join our net this evening? Here's now, let's go to Bellevue to James, WW7ATS.
Okay, interesting. Now I've got a little, while you were speaking, Jim, the thing switched around, and then it just went from a postage stamp size on 1.2 to a full screen on 1.2. Anyway, well, thanks for the report. Here's some other news you can use. Let's see, your furnace passed. I'm glad that your furnace passed. I didn't quite hear all that because of the cracking status and was perfectly timed, but as I understand it, the guy came out and stamped your permit. It sounds like very Seattle to me, but I bet he charged you full price for every single inspection. I'm sure of that. My condolences about Betty. Sorry to hear about that. It sounds like there's a lot of bureaucracy involved in that too. So, and if it happened on Easter Sunday, oh my goodness, what a horrible day to have that happen. I will say my thanks for you because I've done that kind of thing kind of out of the blue, and it's always appreciated. You have no idea how much that kind of thing is appreciated. About Skype, I remember a couple years ago, Skype was a big deal. Now I have one teleconference a week that I use Skype on. And other than that, I'm not using Skype at all anymore. It's all Zoom. So I guess, hats off to the CCP. They have the world on Zoom these days, which is, I guess, good for them. Let's see, news you can use here. COVID is not over yet. I got a report last night that there's a family on my street. The whole family is tested positive except one person. I'm hoping it's a very mild illness and they'll recover soon, but yeah, it does definitely put a bite into their life. So anyway, appreciate it on that one. Bad news on fantasy baseball. That sounds like a first world problem, Richard. I'm going to have to learn more about how this works. Your players can be doing well, and you pick the teams, players off the teams, but the real life teams can be doing bad. I think that's what you said. I got to learn more about this. Okay, real news you can use. Important topics: chocolate, soup, and of course, breakfast cereal. Okay, I had a friend of mine buy a single can of Progresso soup at Safeway. She said it was $8. Like that until it was rung up. And she, I think, even asked, like, wait a minute, $8 for a can? This is not like some kind of gourmet prepared soup for the party. This is a can of Progresso soup. So yeah, that's what it is. And she went, yeah, sure, I guess. I can put it in my safety deposit box. Maybe it's a long-term investment, who knows. But today at Costco, I was looking for soup, and they have bone broth. They have chicken broth. They have broth made out of, whatever, mushrooms. and they have every kind of little, instant noodle you can imagine. But if you just want to can of chicken noodle soup, I can find it, which I think was kind of interesting at the corporate headquarters, Costco in Issaquah. I was able to buy Hershey's chocolate nuggets, but you talk about inflation. I think those were 27 cents an ounce at the start of COVID, and I think those are 31 cents now. So the price of chocolate's going up. And Trader Joe's little free pack of chocolate bars. They've got a dark, I think a Rice Krispie one, and then a milk chocolate. Those little free packs are missing in action out of all the Trader Joe's. Clearly, this is a sign of end of times. And I got an employee today to tell me that the soonest you're going to see those is the end of next month. So I don't know if the chocolate or the Rice Krispies or the little cocoa beans or what's coming from China, but apparently there's something messed up there. But it's interesting, too, the cereal. I tried to just get cereal at Costco today, and I have some employees, and it looked like she knew what she was doing. She had the magic tablet, and she told me to go look on this aisle. I looked there was no cereal on that aisle. So I looked around a little bit, and then I got tired of looking all over the stores. I gave up. So if there's cereal hiding in Costco, I could not find it. So I think that's an odd thing, but I tried to buy some for 6 cents for $10. I wanted. But, they told me that within 5 days there was at least a chance of that cereal appearing. Unlike the chocolate bars, you're not even saying, don't even look for them for a month. So I guess you're down to like 12 or 15 other varieties of chocolate bars at Trader Joe's. Clearly, this is a crisis. So, anyway, that's the news you can use in supply chain stuff these days. This is 7th November in Northeast Bellevue. Let me turn it back to Dave.
WW7N, James, thanks for that. And again, it's ID time again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. And this is Dave 87GYM in Lake City. Oh my. Things that happen. I think Jessica's probably going to be a million-miler here pretty soon with all of the traveling that she's doing by wheels. So, anyway, congratulations on landing a new occupation or vocation, you might want to say. So that'd be kind of neat. And for Ron, bird dogging his family friend there for taking care of her afterlife, so to speak. It's been a real sort of challenge, I would say, for him. So, again, this is Dave 87GYM in Lake City. So I don't have anything else to do with that, so let's go back up to Ron. 87QKU.
Okay, this is Ron, KD7QKU. Well, I just now got my computer back on. Got my email up. Couldn't get my email up. Couldn't get it to open on Zoom. Couldn't do anything. Finally, now everything came up. It looks like I can see everybody moving. I think everything seems to be working. I don't know. I think it might be my Wi-Fi connection. I don't know. I just moved my Wi-Fi antenna a little bit, and it seemed like it started to work. So maybe that's it. So anyway, yeah, Jessica, you have an exciting life right now. We'll look forward to the next edition. So did I hear you say you're going to have to get a combination license? You're going to have to, yeah. They had, when I was at Metro, you had to have a combination license. Because some of the buses are like, they're jointed in the middle, and so they're considered two. And, Jim M7QO, I could see you on Skype. Let's see, what did you ask me? You asked me a question. No, I forgot what it was. But I did hear it. Unfortunately, I can't remember what it was. So let's see. I guess that's about it. I was just messing with the computer all that time, trying to get it to work again. So let's go back to the net, and we'll see what else is exciting in everyone's life. 87QKU. Back to that.
87QKU, Ron, thanks for that. Let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK.
market up here in Everett. I think we had problems earlier with the telephones too up here, because I was thinking that I was going to get a phone call sometime between midnight and 6 this morning, and I never did for one of those on-call jobs. So I think something was happening, and I didn't get any call till like 1 o'clock this afternoon, and I turned it down so I could go to that interview. Let's see, we were at Whistle Workwear the other day for Sylvia. She was getting some work boots that are certified. And if you go get certified work shoes, Boeing will pay you like $75 towards your shoes. Of course, Whistle Workwear is not a cheap place to buy them, but they're certified, so they'll give you that reimbursement. While I was up there was a whole bunch of Tulalip utilities workers up there because they had T-shirts and jackets on that said Tulalip Utilities, and it was kind of neat. I mentioned to the clerk that was there, well, you sure have a lot of the utility workers here. And she said, oh yeah, they gave us a call ahead of time. They all get a lot of vouchers for pants, coats, and shoes, and all sorts of stuff. And I thought that's really cool. And I mentioned that Sylvia was from Boeing. She said, yeah, Boeing doesn't give as much. And then the last thing was, speaking of supply chain, these Whistle Workwear shoe folks were turning down a lot of people that they didn't have sizes for. They were waiting for truckloads of shoes to come in. So it's hidden in different places. And lastly, as I was coming back home through Mount Vernon up there, KUOW I listen to all the time was sounding really bad, really ruddy, like it wasn't getting a good signal to my truck. I normally would be, but there was like lots of side winds and rain and all sorts of stuff. So I think that might have just been the weather, but it's interesting times right now. This is KS7UHK.
KS7UHK, thanks for that. Let's go to Richard in Kent, K7ITX. Find out more about fantasy baseball.
Well, I guess maybe the easy way to answer your question, James, is if you can just picture, all the baseball players in the baseball league, so you can have any one of them on your own specific team. Doesn't matter what team they're on, you just get them. And your specific team where you have these players, it's a function of your point and your ability to win, be competitive, is a function of each individual player singular by himself and how he performs that day in a game. So if he gets a home run, or if he steals a base, or if he scores a run, that's great. Now, he's, usually, if you have a player that scores anywhere around 10 points in a game, and sometimes, miraculously, they might score 14 or even, I've heard as high as 30, that's great. But sadly for that player, even though he really did great on your fantasy team, his team that he's playing on lost the game. So, and he could be on a team that continually loses the game. Like the Mariners were a real good example. Like if you had Mitch Haniger on your fantasy team, he'd be a great player to have. And he's a designated hitter, outfielder for the Mariners, Haniger is, and he's just really well known for scoring, being real proficient, doing a lot of hits and runs. So even though Mitch Haniger was really good for me, maybe not so much for the Mariners because they had lousy pitching that day or whatever, and they would always lose. So that's what that's all about. You can have really great players that are on really lousy teams, and it doesn't make any difference as far as how their teams turn out. It's how they turn out in their individual performances for you. And I just so happen to have 5 Mariners right now that seem to be feeding off of each other, and that's the good thing. So, they are just generating momentum and excitement amongst each other, and it just happens to be the Mariners, and I happen to pick them in our, believe it or not, we have a draft before this whole thing starts, so they just happen to be a when I picked them. And I guess on the bad news would be high A1C, which is a function of measuring your blood sugar over a course of a period of time. And I mean, it's not dangerously high, but whenever it starts creeping up, it catches your attention. So diabetes is a terrible, terrible disease, and something that you don't want to ignore. People go blind, they lose limbs, and the kidneys fail, all those kinds of things. So I'm taking it very seriously. I lost 50, 60 pounds about 10 years ago, and that was just, I was a man with a mission when I did that. Well, I'm a man with a mission now. I'm going to have to go back to square one and for me, it's don't eat candy every night in the middle of the night. Don't eat ice cream. Don't have dessert all the time. Don't have croissant sandwiches for lunch every day. White bread. Or how about potatoes 4 times a week? And just stuff that I really like. I gotta figure out a way to cut it way down. So that's the bad news. KD7ZIM, K7ATS, back in net control.
K7ATS. Oh my, Richard. Glad I'm not in your shoes. Let's go to Jen, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Dick, good luck. That can be a challenge. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you there. And fantasy baseball, my goodness, that to me that sounds like more brain power than I have. That's pretty impressive. Glad you're having fun with that. Let's see. Oh, Ron, I didn't ask you a question. I was commenting about Skype. Years ago, before Zoom ever came out, I was trying to communicate with my wife through Skype, and but we were doing it on our cell phones, and somehow it seemed, my thought is that one of our phones would update to a different revision and the other wouldn't get it, and somehow once the 2 versions were different sufficiently, then we simply could not communicate. So I don't know. And the way that it worked as well, it seems the interface with the client seemed to have changed from time to time as well. And so I'm scratching my head going, well, I used to do this and it worked fine. How come it doesn't do that anymore? So it's probably not you. It's the app there, I think. Let's see. And Jim, reset. Yeah, you were talking about COVID. It's definitely not over. I have a friend who just got it about a week ago. He's fortunately not on a ventilator, but he's on full-time oxygen. He does have some medical issues, though, and he's probably, I'm guessing he's about 83 or 84. Yeah, it's not quite gone. Those of us who are older are certainly more vulnerable to this than other people. Let's see, Jim, you were talking about food supplies. Yeah, that's a bummer. $8 for a can of soup? I would, I don't know. I see people stealing televisions and stuff like that out of some of these stores. I'm more inclined to steal a can of soup or something if it came down to that. $8 for a can of soup, man. And I don't know what to say about Costco. I've encountered things where I couldn't find what I wanted at the store either. Sometimes they have everything you want, and sometimes they don't have anything you want. Don't know exactly why that is, but good luck. 87ZYM and 7QO.
87QO, thanks for that. Let's go to James, WW7ATS.
Well, thank you, Dave. WW7 here in Northeast W. I just have a question. Jessica's probably going to have to get the tandem license because the bus is, has that little, joint in the center. But in Seattle, wouldn't you have to also get a hazardous materials license? Because, just about everyone on the bus has in their pockets. I'm not sure about that. You might want to check on that. Let's see, shoes. I know who gave me the idea. I told you last time, or maybe this time before, I was repairing some hiking boots, and it's probably slightly lower quality than what you got at the shoe store that specializes in safety shoes. These shoes, I got a whole pile of them years ago in China. We were learning how to make shoes, and I got a deal. And so I filled up a whole closet shelf with all these shoes. But then I find things like the soles come off and stuff after you wear them for a week. I do know when you get exactly what you pay for it, but someone gave me an idea for shoe glue to repair the shoes. I didn't use that. What I used was a two-part epoxy, which I've used this two-part epoxy now for several projects. It's a really good glue, but here's the deal. I got it out of a estate sale, and I don't know what the brand on it is. I don't know if I'll ever figure out what the glue is, or when it's gone, it's gone. Richard has lost a lot of weight. Oh, wait, he's back now. I was going to say, you've lost so much weight, Richard, I can't even see you anymore on the screen. But no, you're back. But that is a hard thing to do, to lose weight. If you're over the age of 10, I found that was kind of a challenge for me. So good for you doing it later on and keeping it off. That's the hard part. So let's see. Best wishes to Jim's friend on recovery from COVID. Wow, that's above 80 with other problems. I hope things go okay for him. So with that, let's see, we've got about 14 minutes left until the end, so we come back to our net control days for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. This is James, WW7N. Take it away, Dave.
WW7N, James, thanks for that. This is Dave, 87CYM. Back memories of Skype. I haven't used that for a couple of years. But what's interesting with Skype, you always got these messages, somebody was calling you, and I seem to have a plethora of female friends or acquaintances or something from the Philippines, and it was constantly, they wanted to call and talk, and I don't know how I got on the mailing list with that. I think probably Skype shows up who and where's where, I don't know, and they try to contact you. But anyway, a lot of disappointed wannabes from the Philippines that I never contacted. So somebody else got the duty to do that. And let's see, as far as Richard, dieting, I've dieted before, and it seems like anything you really want is taboo on a diet. I don't know, unless it's water, and that seems like about the only thing, water and chicken is about the only thing you can eat, and rice. So if you can live on that, good luck. But I don't know, I gotta have my ice cream and my chocolate bars and all those goodies, and nibble on the potato chips and all those other stuff, nuts, and oh my, gotta have all those good things while you're watching television in the evening. So anyway, good luck to you. Trying to keep a nice diet, Richard. So with that, we'll go back up to Ron, who seems to be stabilized on the internet right now.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Ron, KD7QKU here. Yeah, everything seems to be working fine now. I've been listening to everybody, and then I didn't make any notes. So, yeah, I don't know about what version of Skype I had, but it worked just fine once we got hooked up. I didn't know how to, put in a new person. That was, I didn't know their Skype name. I had to use phone numbers or emails or whatever. But I think they found me more than I found them. I think the emails worked, and I said I was on Skype, but I didn't give my Skype name. So I turned up the volume real high. We actually had both computers on, my wife's and mine, and then we were out with the people trying to eat, prepare dinner, and then all of a sudden we'd hear the sound. Skype makes a distinctive sound, and we'd be running for and we would inadvertently, go in the wrong room. They would call one Skype, and then they would call the other Skype. And we had quite a few conversations with them after they got over the shock of the news, and then had to try to figure out what to do. But yeah, it was Skype worked just fine, real fine. The first contact we made, actually, we couldn't seem to make a phone call. Joanne had one of their phone numbers, but Matt was here, and he had a different kind of phone. We had Apple phones, and I don't know what he had, but he was able to make a long-distance call to Australia, and we couldn't. But then we got through, and then we finally got to her cousin, and then we got hooked up on Skype. So he was a pleasant man, and so bad news, but we had pretty cordial conversation. So anyway, it was quite an Easter afternoon, late afternoon and evening. I think we didn't get through until 9:30, and then of course, we found out there's 17 hours difference, and so what time of the day are we trying to call? Maybe it was the middle of the night. Finally, somebody got smart enough to figure that out. And let's see, what time? I guess it was in the morning over there, but it's 17 hours difference. But I think it was in the morning for them, 9 or 10 o'clock. Can't remember that, but anyway. So it was quite an evening. So back to that KD7 continue.
87 continue. Ron, thanks for that. Let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK.
KF7UHK. International calling is interesting. When we were in Holland back in 2001 or so, we wanted to call my parents, say hello. And I think we had to call at about 7 in the evening to get them at about 8 or 9 in the morning here. And so you had to figure it out because you didn't want to call them in the middle of the night and wake them up. But I remember the telephones weren't very they didn't have the nice fidelity that our American telephones have, is what I can remember. They sounded pretty chunky, if you ask me. Let's see, I don't have a whole lot more to say tonight. It's been raining out here quite a bit tonight. And for Richard there, see no evil, eat no evil, have no fun. So there you go. Like sex, drugs, and rock and roll is Halloween for adults. Let's see, at 53 minutes after the hour, it's 50 degrees up here and cloudy, but it's actually rainy up here. So I'm going to just pass it back. KF7UHK.
KF7UHK. Let's go to Richard, KF7UHK. I guess the word is peanuts, popcorns, and Cracker Jacks, but then there's all kinds of confessions. Take it away, Richard.
Well, actually, I usually figure out a way to, get between the lines, so to speak. It just takes some strategy. I have to test my blood under certain circumstances, and once I figure out what I can get away with, that's the key. I don't think I'm still going to eat, steaks and all. There's a lot of really great things I'm still going to eat. I just have to replace, and not completely replace it. It's not like I can never eat candy again or can never do this or that. It's just that I can't do it in mass quantities like I did the last 6 months. I've been struggling with some kind of lung issues recently, and I think that kind of depressed me a little bit. And so, how do you get out of depression? Well, you eat really fun stuff all the time. And yeah, right, Dave. And I mean, I knew this was going to happen. I keep pretty good track of what I eat and what it does and how it affects my body. So it wasn't like I didn't know this was going to happen. I asked it as well because it brought a couple of medical issues to head. So anyway, I don't know. I feel actually pretty dang positive about all this. It could have been a lot worse, and I seem to be on top of it. The medicine that's out there is making me feel real good as far as coughing and sneezing and our sinus issues and lung issues. What I've got to kind of tide me over until I get a better plan going there. That's fine, and like I said, now I just got to figure out how to get away with cheating on the diet front. and I'm sure there's a lot of ways to do it. It's just a matter of, there's a fantastic video on PBS. It's a special. It's there all the time. It's called Blood Sugar Rising, and it'll scare the wits out of you. It really will. And so just based on understanding what people with diabetes are faced with, makes me realize that I don't want to be in the same boat with them. And the way to be in a different boat is figuring out, it's the blood sugar has got to be in a certain zone. There's a sweet spot in your blood, and if the sugar deviates out of the zone, that's where you're in trouble. And that's not rocket science. It's pretty easy to measure, and as long as I can figure out how to stay in the zone and have all the great fun foods, I'm convinced I'll be able to figure it out, because look, I lost 60 pounds, didn't gain it back, and I've been eating like an idiot. So there you go. K7ITX, and I'm going to say 72, back to net control.
K7ITX, after that, Richard. We'll repeat on down to Jim, N720.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Dick, I have a friend who was diabetic and would check his blood sugar frequently. He had a problem one day that this little tester that he had required strips of some sort that he feeds into it, then you prick a finger and a drop of blood goes on these test strips, which are supposed to say your blood sugar level. Well, apparently he got some defective strips one time, and as a matter of fact, I think he got them from China. But he went to Fred Meyer here in Covington one day. He's walking around, felt a little bit odd, but he checked his blood sugar, double-checked his blood sugar, and he passed out. And so they called the ambulance, and it turned out his blood sugar was like 700. He got a bunch of defective test strips for this device. So lesson to be had there, take the readings with a grain of salt. If you don't feel good, and no pun intended there, Jim, if you don't feel quite right, perhaps your device is not functioning properly. Let's see. One other thing real quick. Jim, I forgot to look up that shoe glue that I've got somewhere. But epoxy, I would think that would make it rigid. I would think that would make the soles less flexible than they ought to be. But I don't know. If it works, go for it. But looks like with the witching hours here, back to you, Dave, N7QO.
N7QO and bewitching it is. I'd like to thank the owners and operators of the 08 machine, the TAC Repeaters Association, for letting us use WW7ATS repeaters 14708 for voice transmissions for our net cells on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave 87CYM signing off the net for the evening. Good evening all. 87CYM clear.